Hello, welcome in to another FIFA 23 tactics video for you. I'm Ash, or Brom18, whichever one you prefer, and today we're talking Edin Terzic's Borussia Dortmund system, highly requested from you guys. I'm going to show you how to replicate it in FIFA 23 today. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell to get notifications every time I upload a video. Welcome along. Today we're going to talk about the likes of this, whatever the formation is, 4-2-3-1, 4-1-4-1. I can't really tell you, such as the fluidity of the positioning. It doesn't really matter. Formations and stuff, they matter less so much these days. It's more about the system and the positioning itself. So we'll just call it a 4-2-3-1, I guess, and go from there. Before I do show you how to replicate the system, I'm going to go through the position changes, the formation. We'll talk about the tactics and the player instructions as well. Tell you a couple of tweaks for different players and personnel, because Terzic does like to kind of rotate. Quick on say, if you want to see how this tactic ranks and rates compared to all of the other systems that I do cover on the channel, make sure to check out my Patreon, because you can get access to my FIFA 23 custom tactics package, rankings, ratings, strengths, weaknesses of every system I do cover on the channel, as well as exclusive tactics videos that you'll only find on Patreon. Lots of good ones on there. Discord server access, fancy football access, early access to videos, got a few behind the scenes videos coming along the way as well, so do go and check them out. With that being said, let's talk more about this system. So as I've said already, kind of a 4-2-3-1, whichever you really want to prefer. There's a couple of position changes here. The best thing to do is go for this 4-2-3-1 narrow to start with that. And then what you're looking for, first of all, is you want to make sure that Guerrero on this left side is changed from left back to left wing back. I might have a video coming up soon about the differences between fullbacks and wing backs, but you'll notice he pushes up a whole lot further due to the nature of Adeyemi's role, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, compared to Wolf, who does still get forward, but not as advanced in terms of his positioning as Guerrero. With the central midfielders, make sure to change Bellingham from defensive midfield to left central midfield. He's very much that out-and-out box-to-box midfielder, and this is the best way to replicate that. You do get a really good sense of his player instructions, and you're able to change them about. With the attacking midfielders, Brandt, in this case, is a right attacking midfielder. Again, they've rotated between Brandt, Reina, etc. We'll talk about that more later on. But Adeyemi really plays as this false hybrid winger / striker role, and so with him, you actually want him to be a left forward. I found that was the best way to replicate his system. He does come over onto the right side of the forward line a little bit too often for my liking, but it is much better than when you've got him at left attack midfield. So this is the best way to kind of try and replicate that. He does play that kind of second striker role. He isn't an out-and-out winger, and it's done a really good job. I'm very impressed with how Terzic has been able to kind of get him into that role and really make it complement the rest of the system with the likes of Haller and Marlon on the pitch, etc. So let's talk tactically then. Starting off defensively, we've got press after possession loss. They do employ a counter-pressing system. The width is on 30, the lowest you can have it before it becomes narrow. Very much plays into that counter-press, and also the amount of space that they do leave kind of when they are in defensive transition. You will kind of notice that in the wide areas, so just something to bear in mind. The depth is on 90. They play a very, very high line. I dropped this down from 100 to 90 just because of the nature of the centre-backs. Whilst they're fairly pacey in their own right, particularly Schürrle, you'll notice that obviously the acceleration is quite poor. His pace comes from his sprint speed. And so, as a result, it was better just to drop it off a little bit because of the fact that you do have to compensate for that. And I do kind of get exploited in the gameplay that you'll notice down below. Offensively, the build-up plays on slow build-up. They do like to play out from the back on goalkeeper restarts, and they like to play it through the thirds. But then on chance creation, it's forward runs, and you'll notice that high volume and that fluidity of movement that we've mentioned so many times in videos before. They've got this in Dortmund as well, and it really does complement all of that, that personnel that they've got with Adeyemi, Marlon, Royce, Brandt, Reina, Haller, Moukoko, etc. With the width, this is also on 30. Again, the lowest you can have it before it becomes narrow. The reason why we've done this is actually to help with these player roles. The likes of Brandt and Adeyemi, we're trying to get them into the central areas a bit more. We don't want them out on the touch lines. And so partly the way to do this was the positioning, and the other way was also with 30 on the width as well. When you do change it to narrow, you do notice a pretty huge difference. So that's why we got it on 30. Players in the box is on 8. They do like to kind of load out the box, and it is quite a fairly big way in which that they do like to attack. And then with the corners and free kicks, both of these are up to 4. So let's talk player instructions then. Starting off with Cobble in goal, we've got him on comes to crosses and also sweeper keeper. That's going to be very important for that high line that you are playing. With the 2 centre backs, both of these are on normal, so you don't need to change them. Wolf and Guerrero, despite the fact that they are in differing roles, do have the same player instructions. That is join the attack and overlap. And then with Chan as the defensive midfielder, remember his instructions will be different to Bellingham's. His defensive behaviour, his cut passing lanes, it is a more zonally orientated press compared to a man marking system. The attacking support is stay back whilst attacking. Remember, you will be fairly vulnerable on defensive transitions again, because generally you might only have 3 players back. And that is something that they have kind of struggled with this season. So, you know, do bear that in mind. Defensive position is cover wing. He'll fill in for Wolf when he needs to. And his positioning freedom is stick to position. Now with Bellingham as this box-to-box midfielder, obviously different ring roles here. His attacking support is get forward. You'll make sure that he's providing those runs as much as possible. And support on crosses is also getting to the box with a cross. A great way to replicate that box-to-box role. Defensive position is cover wing, but positioning freedom is the most important thing here. He's on free roam. When you watch Dortmund, you'll notice he really does zip about all areas of the pitch. He'll drift out onto the right, over to the left. He'll come out wide. He'll drop deep, get into advanced positions. He does a bit of everything, and it really did a great job of replicating this role. So definitely keep that on free roam. With the attack midfielders, we'll start off with Royce as the least complicated of the 3. He's on comeback on defence to get him tracking back, and his support on crosses is getting to the box for the cross. His positioning freedom is stick to position. You really just want him staying in those advanced areas in between kind of the defensive and midfield line of the opposition. And that's the best way to replicate that. With Brandt as this right attacking midfielder, his instructions are actually the same because he is also on comeback on defence and he's on getting to the box with a cross. Position freedom is stick to position because generally what you're looking for is, again, as we've spoken about, and I'll keep repeating it because it's very important, you don't want him drifting out too wide. You want him coming into the central areas a bit more. He does a lot of his work in the half spaces and the half channels, so kind of in between the opposition fullback and centre back, and that's what you're looking for there. But sometimes you just kind of drift inside, and right attacking midfielder was really the best way to kind of replicate that. With Adeyemi as this left forward role, remember he will have strikers player instructions. So his support runs, first things first, are unbalanced. Now the reason why I've got this is because you'll notice that in the gameplay, and as I've already spoken about, he was often drifting out onto the right hand side of the forward line, and I was trying to kind of combat this as much as possible. The reason why I didn't have this fully on drift wide is because then he'd come too far out over onto the right. Just a kind of annoying gameplay hitch there that we can't really fix. So do keep that on balance. Width attacking runs is get in behind, again playing that kind of hybrid striker role, and his pace is so electric and so dangerous that they will try and make use of that. And then defensive support is come back on defense. Again, you'll notice a little bit of issues with this. Sometimes he doesn't because he is a striker. But generally you are going to try and get him tracking back as much as possible. Now, finally off with Sebastian Haller, we will talk about some positional tweaks shortly. He's on stay central for support runs, and his attacking runs are actually mixed. Sometimes he likes to back into the opponent, and he gets the kind of runners of Royce, Adeyemi, Bellingham, etc. playing off him and around him, and he'll link up with them. And in other times, he will kind of play on the last man and look to kind of run in behind. So mixed attack is the best way to replicate that. And finally, his defense support is stay forward, as we will play that out-and-out striker role. So let's talk about some slight positional tweaks that we've got here. Notice that Terzic does like to kind of rotate fairly often, particularly between his attackers. He rotates very, very often. In fact, rarely do they kind of keep the same lineup from game to game. So let's talk about the striker first. We've obviously had Haller up there. What happens, how does it change a little bit when, say, Donyell Malen or Yusufa Moukoko are up front? The positional tweaks that you're looking for here is his attacking runs this time will be on getting behind rather than mixed. Obviously, he's not looking to back into opponents as much as either Malen or Moukoko. And then support runs this time, rather than on stay central, they're actually on balance width. Sometimes they'll just kind of drift out a little bit to kind of peel off the centre back, and that's what you're looking for here. We've also got the likes of Marlon playing on the left in case of Adeyemi. As a recording this, he's also sustained a small injury as well, so it will probably be Marlon there. Those instructions do say the same, and it is also the same with the case for Giovanni Reina as well, who sometimes plays on the right instead of Julian Brandt. In this case, those instructions will also stay the same. So it's really only the tweaks with regards to the front men. Just want to change it to get in behind and balance width if you've got like Marlon or Moukoko playing instead of Haller up front. So with that being said, we're just about ready to round it off there. If you've got any questions about the system, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to get back to you. If you want to see how this tactic ranks and rates compared to all of the other systems that we have covered on the channel, then obviously get on my Patreon and get my access to my FIFA 23 custom tactics package. I think you guys will really enjoy that, and you can find a whole lot of other fantastic perks and rewards as well. A great way to support the channel, and I want to say a huge thank you to you guys who are choosing to support me on Patreon. You are keeping the channel going and as consistently uploading as I am at this moment in time, because it has allowed me to justify that. So a massive thank you to you guys who are kind of keeping this a regular thing. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notifications every time I upload. Check out my Twitter, the link to that is down below, as well as my video games podcast. If you want your video games fix, you can find the links to all of the episodes on all your podcasting apps or YouTube down below. Check out the FIFA Tactics subreddit as well. You'll find the link in the description. And with that being said, we're now going to go into some gameplay. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, I will see you soon.